Welcome to this Scrum Foundations discussion on the value of Scrum. This is part 3B of the Value of Scrum video series, Cognitive Studies, the Golden Ratio. If you haven't yet viewed parts 1, 2, and 3A, links are provided below in the video description. With respect to estimation techniques utilized in Scrum, the 2020 Scrum Guide is intentionally non-prescriptive, leaving the choice to the organizations and teams implementing the Scrum framework. The Scrum Guide merely states that selecting how much can be completed within a sprint may be challenging. However, the more the developers know about their past performance, their upcoming capacity, and their definition of done, the more confident they will be in their sprint forecasts. The Scrum Guide also states that various processes, techniques, and methods can be employed within the framework. Scrum wraps around existing practices or renders them unnecessary. Scrum makes visible the relative efficacy of current management, environment, and work techniques so that improvements can be made. Rather than emphasize accurate forecasts, Scrum emphasizes the frequent delivery of value to stakeholders. Two mechanisms are defined in the Scrum Guide to provide a forecast of value delivery: the product goal and the sprint goal. The product goal describes a future state of the product which can serve as a target for the Scrum team to plan against. The sprint goal is a single objective for the sprint. It creates coherence and focus, encouraging the team to work together rather than on separate initiatives. One estimation technique that is popular among organizations implementing the Scrum framework is the use of story points. Story points are a measure of the relative size of a product backlog item that takes into account factors such as risk, uncertainty, complexity, and physical size. Values allowed for selection in story points are from the Fibonacci sequence. The Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers where each value in the sequence is the sum of the two previous values. One of the most significant aspects driving the use of story points in Scrum is the fact that story points are estimated relative to other user stories, rather than an absolute measurement, as is the case when estimating with time units such as hours. The use of story points to facilitate the implementation of the Scrum framework is described in more detail in my video on the topic of velocity, which you can view at the link provided in the video description. Humans estimate better relatively. For example, it is much faster and more accurate to estimate the size of buildings in reference to one another, rather than trying to guess how many feet tall a specific building is. There is another more subtle yet significant reason that the Fibonacci sequence is used for estimating product backlog items in Scrum. It is simply that it is natural for humans to estimate using the Fibonacci numbers. A relationship known as the golden ratio is recognized by mathematicians, observed in nature, and applied by artists and architects throughout history. In general, the golden ratio is recognized as the most pleasing proportion to the human eye, and has been the subject of study in areas such as facial recognition and emotion detection. It can be found in Renaissance art and architecture, natural forms, and biological representations, as well as attributes of human emotion and locomotion characteristics. Even aesthetic aspects of modern robot structure design reflect the golden ratio. The golden ratio has its mathematical basis in the relationship between the sides of isosceles triangles with base and apex angles of either 72 and 36 degrees or 36 and 108 degrees respectively. From the initial establishment of the Fibonacci series around 1200 AD, its relationship with the golden ratio has been recognized. It can be shown mathematically by comparing the ratio of each subsequent value in the Fibonacci series to its predecessor, referred to here as the rolling ratio. As you can see from the graph, the rolling ratio converges with the golden ratio as the series progresses. The Fibonacci sequence combined with the golden ratio provides a basis for the application of story points for backlog item estimation in Scrum. With all of this said, relative estimation using story points in Scrum is a natural and efficient way for teams to accurately estimate product and sprint backlogs.